Hello everyone, I just thought I would finish the last of my project with you on video. So let me just get situated here. So I am on my very last row before the bind off. So I thought I would just do a little meditation with you. I am a left-hander knitting right-handed. I switch off from knitting like this to switching hands and actually, instead of throwing the yarn is what they call it, which is how I just had it, to grabbing the yarn. Do you see how that would be grabbing the yarn? I'm actually scooping it up with the right needle. I go back and forth. It kind of depends on my mood. I tend to throw the yarn, meaning the other way, not this way, more just as a quick, that's what I tend to just naturally go towards. But then when I think about it, I do switch to this every once in a while, not only to give my hand a break, my brain, can think about something else because it's doing it quite differently, exactly opposite really. And since I am left-handed and I learned to knit right-handed, then I can kind of switch back and forth. So I find that both are fast, but this sometimes I can get in a rhythm. My stitches tend to be a little looser with this, which is okay. I'm kind of a tight knitter, and with this particular pattern, it worked out great. This is called a bee stitch right here. And that bee stitch looks really nice when it's nice and tight. Of course, we have a stockinette in between with the more, I don't know if you would call that a yellowish green or chartreuse. Like, what color do you call that? Please put it in the comments below what color you would call the stockinette stitch that's in between the bee stitch here. What do you call that? It's kind of a yellowy, but it is kind of green. So I'm not quite sure what the consensus is out there by you experts. Just listening to some sound bowls. Kind of center myself. I always like to have some kind of meditative or calming music so that my project has that kind of built in to the stitches. Again, with it being homemade, it does have a few errors. There's a couple of things I want to fix when I get this casted off, which I get to do today as soon as I finish this row. The nice thing about this pattern is there's really, since I carried up the yarn, you had choices. You could carry up the yarn, cut off the yarn every time you switched. This one I carried up the yarns, and there were 3 different yarns used. And since I carried them up, I only have the original 3 colors at the beginning to weave in, and of course I'll have the end. Actually, do I even have the 3? Let's see how it started out. Here's the very beginning. So you can see I just have 3, 1, 2, and 3 to weave in, and they're pretty short. Look at that. Lucky there. And then I'll have these 3 on this end to weave in. Usually do have a candle going as well as my music or my sound bowls. And a cup of tea. However, I can say it's a good thing that tea is one of those beverages that tastes good any temperature, because even though my first sip gets to start off very hot, as you can see, both my hands are busy, and I get so involved in focusing on what I'm doing that I forget to take that second sip until it's kind of lukewarm or even cold sometimes if I'm really involved, or if I have to count. At least this row I don't have to count, I just have to get through it. So that's why I thought I would share my moment with you. Let me know in the comments if you're a knitter or a crocheter. I am actually both. I just happen to be wanting to finish this knitting project here, so I've been trying to not dip into my other works in progress, WIPs we call it. I've been trying to make sure that I don't start any new projects, even though I have so many great ideas, and there's so many knit-alongs that are going along, crochet-alongs that are going on by my favorite yarn stores or designers, that it has been really hard to be disciplined. But I guess that's why I listen to the Zen meditation music, right? To stay disciplined so that I can finish this project before I start another. Oh, that is just something that's been so hard for me in life in general, but it shows up in my knitting and crocheting. What type of person you are. Let me know how many WIPs, works in progress, you have going. And if you're working on any particular pattern, go ahead and share it. Also, let me know if you do knit or crochet, or if you do both. And of course, the question with that is that I'm always curious about is, if you did do both, which one did you start with first? I don't think I've spoken to anyone before that kind of started at the same time. It's a lot for your brain to wrap around and get the coordination with your hands, and of course the patterns are different, slightly different terminology and things. So when you're brand new, I couldn't imagine trying to learn both at the same time. It felt like it took me long enough to really even get comfortable with going beyond even a beginner's pattern. Until I started doing some year-long knit-alongs where it kind of gave you the pattern and gave you some interesting new stitches to do that I'd never done before, and then I started to build confidence. So I started with crochet, and I do crochet left-handed. Makes it a little more confusing for some patterns. Let me know if you're a left-handed crocheter or a left-handed knitter in the comments. I would love to interact with you and start a little knitting circle. If I get enough views and likes and subscribers, then I can do lives, but they're not letting me do that right now just yet. So I'll record and post and try to keep it as authentic, like alive as possible. So not only can I get the practice of, talking and knitting, because normally I knit in silence with just my music, meaning not talking to anybody. Every once in a while I might have a friend over that does also knit or crochet, and it's always fun to do projects, but even then it's almost easier just to turn on a show where you don't have to talk to each other. I prefer to talk and knit, even if there's or crochet, even if there's long pauses when you're counting. That's probably the only thing about not having a show or something that kind of keeps you from talking, is if somebody's doing a type of pattern that really takes some counting and you happen to just need to ask your question that you've been burning to ask right at that moment, and they lose track of their count. You might cause them to have to start over. Not everybody does well with that. I usually have this mom look on my face if I'm counting and someone's trying to talk to me. Kind of keep counting, but I give this mom look, like, just a minute. I will answer you in a minute. Of course, I don't say that because I'm counting, but it's the look. You can imagine what type of a look that would be. We got birds singing outside. It was raining earlier, so the birds are singing because it's actually a cooler day for a summer day. I knit all year round, so it doesn't matter. It's just I just noticed the birds because I have, just come out of knitting in the winter, so I don't quite have the doors open and the windows open to be able to hear them join in with my music. Tell me what colors you would use on this. This is a shawl. Not sure if I'm supposed to say names and things quite yet. Being a creative person, of course, I didn't really read all the details on what I should or shouldn't say, so I just won't say it to be safe till I get that part read. If I can bring up brands or birds sound like they are trying to sing along with the singing bowls. Call them Tibetan singing bowls, sometimes sound bowls, crystal healing bowls. These ones are Tibetan because it's part of a Zen meditation. I can say I do like these interchangeable needles. And of course I love the rose gold coppery look. I don't know, would you call that rose gold or would you call it copper? I don't know. But oh, there's so many times, maybe it's the way I twist my wrist or whatever, or I don't tighten it with the key. That's really what it is. That's the key. I don't tighten it with the key. But every once in a great while they get loose, especially as big of a project as this is. I've been working on it for several months. Pretty much, I won't say every day, because there's some times when I'll do it every day and then I'll just take several days off. My brain just needs a rest, or my day has been too stressful where I just can't even do a stockinette stitch. I just don't have the focus or energy to do that, and that's okay. At least I know which days those are, and it's only a couple days that I feel like that, and then all I have to do is pick it up and get started, and then I'm hooked again. But what colors would you use if you were making this? It's a shawl. It's funny because I'll have some friends that'll be like, oh, I don't wear shawls. But then it's funny because I'll wear a shawl and they'll be like, oh my gosh, that's so pretty. That matches a sweater outfit that I have. Or I had one friend that she loved one of my shawls so much she took it to Iceland with her. So I said, only if you put it in some pictures. I want to see it. So she wore it to her fancy dinner with the captain. And they took a picture before they went. And oh my gosh, it was pretty with the dress that she had. And that one was made with a hand-dyed yarn from a local yarn shop. So I was happy to support them. Of course, it's not cheap, but once you use the hand-dyed yarns, I'm not saying that they don't make really, really good, reasonable priced yarns that are soft, that are made out of, say, acrylic, but I personally got spoiled with using the nice yarns from, say, Peru, or alpaca or yak or camel or silk, mulberry silk, linen. And once you do that, it just really is hard to justify I love saving money, don't get me wrong, but it just sometimes it's harder for me to do. Let me just say that. And that is so unlike me. I like to save where I can, except for yarn. So it is my one indulgence. It is my one splurge. That and some good teas. Once I've had good teas, and I know my teas. I used to have a online tea store and had lots of samples and everything, so I know my teas. And I just have a hard time drinking cheap teas. I'm so used to having the ones that are blended by herbalists, and the balance of them are so thought out. just like these patterns, you know, a designer made this. Someone made this with their hands. Look at how long it's taking me to make this one, albeit one of the longest rows. But look how long that's taking. I mean, that's some true dedication, focus, and love right there. Well, the same I feel about these teas. I can tell usually, you know, if it's a tea that's been manufactured and at high quantity, lower quality, than the teas that have been handmade in small batches by an herbalist. Sometimes on this channel, when I'm playing my singing bowls, I'll, especially if I have a new tea, I'll tape it so that you all can see, okay, we're at the end. That wasn't too bad considering how long this is at this point. So thank you for hanging in there with me. Now the only thing we have left to do is the I-cord and then the bind off. So I want to thank everyone for being with me today and hope you have a great day.